y'all, welcome back to the Paranormal Journals right here on Black Mass Paranormal. So I wanted to talk to you all about something that had happened to me during my military service when I was stationed at Fort Knox. I was speaking with this elderly individual one day, and we were talking about the gold vault. For those of you all who don't know, the gold vault is kind of situated really close to a main road. Like, you essentially, if you're driving through your Fort Knox and you're passing Fort Knox, you drive right past the gold vault. The individual that I talked to had claimed that he had at one time in his life worked at the gold vault. He wouldn't tell me a whole lot as far as the security procedures, and I understood that. And I jokingly said, "Is there gold in the vault?" And he looks at me and he said, "Yes, absolutely, there is gold in Fort Knox. But that's not the only thing in Fort Knox." He went on to say that inside of Fort Knox there was the crown jewels from several different countries. Obviously, he wouldn't give me the names of them. And he said that there was something else located far beneath the ground at Fort Knox. And that was a UFO. Now, in 1948, something pretty crazy happened at Fort Knox regarding a UFO. There was an Air Force captain named Thomas Mantell. Captain Mantell and 3 other pilots were doing a training mission coming from Georgia to Louisville, Kentucky. While they were doing their kind of low-flying exercise, they received a call over the radio from a Colonel Guy Hicks. Guy Hicks had requested Captain Mantell and his other pilots' assistance in identifying something that was flying over Godman Army Airfield in Fort Knox. Initially, the Kentucky State Police started receiving phone calls from all over the place in central Kentucky. All of these phone calls were describing some sort of very large object in the sky. They didn't know what it was, and they didn't really know how to respond because they were getting so many different phone calls from so many different places that they went ahead and they notified the MPs on Fort Knox. It's important to note that Captain Mantell was not your average Air Force pilot. Mantell was a decorated World War II hero. He'd received multiple awards and over 4 different medals that included a Distinguished Flying Cross. So this wasn't your average pilot. Captain Mantell knew what he was doing. As they were approaching Fort Knox, they were about 14,000 feet when Captain Mantell first sees this object in the sky. He initially describes the object as being tremendous in size. Those were his words. And said that it was a metallic object or was reflecting the sun like a metallic object. So at this time, Captain Mantell tells his other pilots to turn around, that he is going to get a closer look. Around 3:15 p.m., Captain Mantell starts chasing after this object. The radio transmissions that were coming through became extremely garbled. And the next thing that they knew, they heard a loud bang, and Captain Mantell's plane unfortunately fell out of the sky. Before Captain Mantell crashed, he described the object as being this huge ice cream cone shaped object that was moving about half of his speed, which equated to be about 180 miles an hour. Now, a lot of people have claimed that Captain Mantell did not have the proper oxygen that he would need to climb to the 25,000-30,000 feet that he did right before his plane crashed. And he had actually suffered from something called hypoxia. Now, initially, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base tried to come out with an explanation. They tried to say that this object in the sky that he was chasing was Venus. That a few months prior, Venus's position in the sky actually had caused another aircraft to falsely identify it as some sort of flying UFO. But something important to note was that this occurred on January 7th, 1948. The weather that day was pretty much clear. It was a high of 49, and they had claimed that there was only some serious cloud cover in the area. That the pilot's visibility should be at least 10 miles. So we have a decorated World War II pilot who, despite knowing the capabilities of his plane, felt it necessary to chase after this tremendous object flying over Godman Army Airfield in Fort Knox. Regardless of how the government tried to spin this story, you cannot take away Captain Mantell's experience. He had tons of missions flying over during World War II. It makes absolutely zero sense for a pilot to risk what they know what's going to happen. Like, it's not like this hypoxia was something that they didn't know about. They knew that this would occur. Why would Captain Mantell risk this in an attempt to try to get a closer look at Venus? It doesn't make any sense. But what that old man told me that one day when I was at Fort Knox made this story make sense. Now, this is something that probably you probably haven't heard a lot about, because this was they tried to dismiss this pretty quickly. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is known to be involved in some of the most controversial UFO and cryptid sightings in the world. Their name always pops up, along with something called Project Blue Book. And that is where you will find this story. And y'all, I hope you enjoyed this little paranormal journal about Captain Mantell and the sacrifice that this man gave for his country. And thank you to all service members that protect our country and allow us to live in the great nation that we do. So I've got several things lined up coming out that I'm working on. If y'all are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Definitely hit that like button. It helps me out tremendously. I'm going to be trying to constantly upload new game cam footage on the members side, as well as specialty footage on under the members section weekly on my channel. So thank you all so much for everybody who has supported me. Thank you to my members that have shown me love. And until next time.